Hello and welcome to Outlook on Air. This podcast is designed to keep you connected with all things Outlook, with special emphasis on our enrichment program and its many activities and services. On this podcast, we'll hear from Outlook associates, donors to our many programs, clients of our services, and much more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this edition of Outlook on Air. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the palatial podcast studio here at Outlook Enrichment, where once again we're about ready to bring you another jam-packed edition of Outlook on Air. And I'm your host, Dennis Nelson. And along with me today, we have Emily Keaton, who is here and learning about podcasts and training to hopefully produce your own. Is that the idea, Emily?
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to eventually do.
So you think you're going to learn something from me today?
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, not a problem. We're glad to have you. And hopefully we can show you how this is all done. So let's do that by telling you about what we're going to have on today's podcast. Today we're going to be featuring Wade and Christine Behlen with Feltz Wealth Management. They help us here at Outlook manage our money, both as a company and individuals here within the company, and they can help you as well, as you're just about to find out. So we're going to talk to them about retirement and retirement plans and overall managing of your money. To get that started, let's bring them in here.
My name is Wade Behlen. Got Christine Behlen, my wife, here. Lived in Omaha. Well, you were not born here, but you've lived here pretty much the whole time in Elkhorn, went to Elkhorn High. I was a little different. I started off as a farm kid outside of Columbus, Nebraska, near Platte Center, Nebraska, if anyone listening would know where that is. It was right after college that I moved to Omaha and met my beautiful wife here. And it was about 19 years ago that I joined Feltz WealthPLAN to head up their retirement plan department. Our firm's been around for over 35 years, but we primarily concentrated on individuals and their wealth management. Our founder, Todd Feltz, saw a need to really service and support businesses because we were being asked, we might have a business owner who was a client, and they say, heck, you've done such a good job for us on our personal side. Could you help us with our 401k side? And that's really when I came on board and said, yeah, I'd like to head up that division, work with businesses and help them set up their retirement plan. And really what we did is we took all the tools and services that we did so well on the individual side, helping people achieve, retirement status and being able to have enough money to retire someday.
Sure.
We said, let's take those skills that our company is really good at, those tools and services, and let's carry that over to a retirement plan where we can now help participants get more financially well and learn how to save and someday have enough money to retire on their retirement plan as well. So that's what I've been doing for 19 years. Our firm's been doing it for a lot longer than that, but very excited about what we have to offer. It's a fast-growing industry. So many companies do not even have a retirement plan. That's changing rapidly. In fact, the statistics are half of the companies in the United States do not even offer a retirement plan, believe it or not.
That is amazing.
It's amazing. And that means half of the companies do.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in a really nice position here that those half of the country that doesn't offer retirement plans, we can help them set one up. And we're excited about the future. And we have a really good team. And that's all we do. We concentrate on retirement plans on our team while the firm still is a leader in, helping individuals, achieve retirement as well.
Well, Wade, what inspired you personally to get into the whole financial and retirement planning industry?
Yeah, I would say God works in mysterious ways. God is good in that I was in the medical field my whole career, and I loved it. I was planning on staying in there, the entire time. Christine and I were clients of our firm at Feltz WealthPLAN. We were individual clients, and so we had an advisor there, Brent O'Mara, who helped us, really plan for the future and make sure that we had our I's dotted and T's crossed for when we want to retire at some point. And so it was really kind of luck how it happened, where Brent and Todd talked about this new division that needed to be started and someone needed to head that up. And I was in a position where I was going to take a new job in the medical field. And I'll never forget the day. I was walking to the mailbox to pick up my new offer. I was going to be a vice president of sales for a large medical company across the country. And while I'm walking back with that offer in hand, Todd Feltz called my cell phone. And I'm like, what in the world is going on here? Why would Todd be calling me now? And Todd said, hey, Wade, I think it's time for us to start this division. Would you be interested in coming in and talking? And I said, well, you're not going to believe this. I just got kind of a dream offer from this large company that I always wanted to do in my lifetime. And Todd's like, well, come on in, let's talk about it. And the rest is history because, at that time, I was traveling a lot. I was traveling probably 40 weeks of the year. We had 2 young boys. And I just didn't really want to keep traveling. I cried every time I left the house, because I was leaving the boys and I knew I'd be gone from like Monday to Thursday or Monday to Friday. And although I really enjoyed my job in the medical field, heading up this division really allowed me to set a different schedules to where I didn't have to travel all the time. And it gave me the freedom to stay home with the boys and coach the boys, during their youth sports era. And it was just such a big blessing. And then it turned out that it was really the best move I've ever made in my life career-wise. So it's just amazing how things happen, even though I'm maybe not smart enough to make them happen on my own. Just life delivers these ultimate moments that, allow me to get to where I know I always wanted to be anyway. So it's a long-winded answer to things just happened. And, I consider myself a very lucky person in life. And maybe this was part of it too.
That's awesome. That really is neat when it works out that way, that's for sure.
It sure is.
So without giving away the entire store, can you maybe share a little tiny bit with us about your company's mission and values?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Our firm always really want to help selected families achieve their financial goals. And, because we can't help everybody, right? So sure. We find those clients that have the same goals, the same values, the people that we think are good people. We want to help them achieve a great retirement world, a great retirement life. That really is our mission. It's pretty simplistic, right? So now we can do that both with individual clients and we can now do that in the 401k space.
That's awesome. Yeah, and there's so much competition in the business as well now that I'm sure you have your hands full.
You are exactly right. I think there's at some point 300,000 advisors in the United States. There's one on about every corner. I would say here in Omaha, almost all the advisors do a great job. We just, of course, we think we do it a little differently. Our firm, I think, has proven that we now manage over $5 billion. When I started, we were managing about $500 million. And so we're 10 times that now, where we're managing over $5 billion. So we've had a really nice growth. And I think it's because at the core, we're not just trying to get assets under management. We're just not trying to find clients. We're really trying to be selective still, selectively find those families, companies, those partners that we can really achieve something special with.
Well, that's awesome. And we certainly think you do that here. In fact, thinking about Outlook and so forth, how did you first learn about Outlook enrichment and what led you to become a supporter of us?
Yeah, well, I feel so blessed to be able to have met this wonderful organization. It was right when I started in 2008 that our firm started working on the retirement plan for Outlook, Nebraska, when it was with a PEO organization. And so we were managing the PEO's 401k plan, and Outlook Nebraska was a member of that PEO. That PEO stands for just Professional Employer Organization. Since then, Outlook has grown so much that they've outgrown the PEO space, and now they have their own organization. They have their own 401k plan. But yeah, I just feel so blessed that I've been able to work with everybody for so long. Wow, the changes that I've seen, and there's just something special about the people at Outlook Nebraska. They're either visually impaired or they have employees that want to help people's life, improve their life. And it's a no-brainer once you are introduced to this organization, just the good that they do. I just know from experience, everyone that works here has such great character. I'm amazed actually at the folks at Outlook Nebraska that work here and their attitude, right? Like they come to work with an attitude of gratefulness and respect. It humbles me, quite frankly, every time that I do a group meeting or when I talk to someone like Monty Bailey, or I even talk with the folks that work here that have their vision, just the effort that they put forth, the grateful attitude that everyone seems to have when they work here.
Well, unemployment in the blind community is relatively high. And so we really support Outlook and places like it, and certainly want to be a positive influence, on those kind of places as well. And here I'm speaking from the employee perspective. So we really appreciate your support as well. And I suppose that's what you'd say would, make you continue to support us.
You're exactly right. It's humbling. It's amazing to me. We attend your gala every year. Mm-hmm. And in the early years, they used to give awards out for people that hadn't missed days of work for a while.
Right.
I was just blown away when people were, I don't know if I have all the data in my head, but I'll just tell you what I thought I heard. Like there were people that have worked here 5 years, let's say, and never missed a day of work. And you compare that to the average workforce, right? These are people that maybe they don't feel right or it's too snowy or whatever, and they don't make it into work. But here's someone who's visually impaired, who has all the excuses in the world to not get up that day or to maybe not catch the bus or to get the ride to work, and it's just too cold. And man, no, your folks this has been a great place for them, a great outlet, and it makes you feel pretty humbled when you know there are people that still show up and do it with such a great attitude along the way.
We appreciate that as well. Now, Outlook hosts a variety of events throughout the year. And what are some of your favorites, if you've been to some of them? And I think you've mentioned you've already done that. And then what do you love the most about any events that you've participated in with Outlook?
Well, I can tell you just my years here, probably what I appreciate most is there will be times, for example, we'll give a group meeting. Mm-hmm. It doesn't take long to realize that there's a really good sense of humor here. There's people are making fun of each other. They're making fun of me. I might say something that I shouldn't have said, but someone, doesn't let that slide, right? They're gonna give it to me right back. And I think that you'll see that at every event, right? It's just an openness. It's just a willingness to learn more. And then, of course, we've gone to the galas. I'm going to be biased. I think my favorite event is the golf outing because I like to golf, and you guys do such a good job there. And we support multiple teams every year. And yeah, it's just every event we've been lucky to and very honored to chair one of the galas. 2 years ago, we were chosen to be the honorary chairs of one of the events, and loved every minute of that. I can remember at some of the galas, they've done a good job of creating a different atmosphere every year. Like the one year you guys had, can't even believe it, but you guys had skateboarders who were visually impaired, and somehow they were on this half pipe doing tricks and making these moves on a skateboard, something I would never do. And I have my vision. Like it blew me away, that it seems like every year there's a really good topic at the gala, and you guys have just done a great job at all the events. I've even been here for your open house. I'll never forget watching in your tech center there, and I don't know if I'm saying it right, but someone was showing us how we all have on our phones the ability to, for example, read a menu, and then that menu can be spoken to you through your phone. And I'll never forget, they'll say, okay, this is how fast, Wade, you probably listened to your message. And then they'd show someone, this is someone that might be visually impaired for 5 years, and this is how fast they can listen to the same message. And then they would play it back to someone who's been visually impaired their entire life and how fast they were listening to it. And it blew my mind how they could actually read a menu at a restaurant faster than I can read it, because they were listening to it so quickly. So just little things like that just that you don't forget.
Obviously not. Well, the next question that I had on my list here is, are there any memorable moments or interactions with Outlook clients or staff that stand out to you? And I think you just kind of covered that one.
Yeah. Well, I'll never forget one of my first group meetings here at Outlook, Nebraska, and I hope no one takes this the wrong way. Eric Sukrath came up to me and said, hey, Wade, you're going to say some things that you might think are going to be offensive, to everyone in the room. Don't worry about that. Just say what you normally say, and we're all big boys and girls. Everyone will be fine. And I kind of took that wrong. I said, wow, Eric, I've been doing this for how many years? I'm going to be okay, right? And sure enough, wouldn't you know it, my first 5 sentences sounded something like, hey, everyone, it's great to be here. Great to see you. And I'm like, oh, no, I said it's see you. These are visually impaired people. They're going to be upset that I said see you. No. And as you can say, and then I'd say things like, as you can see, I have handouts for you. And I'm just totally imploding now, right? Eric jinxed me, and I thought I was going to do a great job of not mentioning, visually impairedness. And I just totally, the first 5 sentences were just terrible. And I'll never forget someone raised their hand in the room, and they said, so Wade, if I hear you right, this is a 401k plan, and I can go online and see my account if I wanted. And this person's visually impaired. I'm thinking to myself, can you see your account? Yes, you can. And it just bailed me out, because they realized, even though I was maybe saying it the wrong way, they knew exactly what I was saying. And, just little instances like that where I would bring cookies or donuts, and I would say, someone would say, hey, Wade, have you had a donut? And I'd be like, no, but they sure look good. And then someone would remind me, well, I can't see them, but they sure smell good. And so just the sense of humor, and, every meeting is just a really humbling experience, but yet a very grateful experience to know that people just really have great attitudes.
Well, sighted people too have this thing where they don't want to say, what they watched on television. But first of all, I would say to you that you did watch something on television, because you can see it. But I watched it in my own way, and that's how I always explain that to someone. I watched it as well, but I maybe visualized it a little bit differently. Maybe you can straighten me out on some of the things that I might have missed. Of course, now with all the video description that's available these days, it's a little less likely. But I think blind people see things in their own way. If you can think of it that way, it makes it all a little bit easier. That's why nobody's offended when you talked as you described earlier. It really doesn't offend us, because that's how normal people talk. I'm not going to walk around and say, well, I heard the Beverly Hillbillies last night on TV. It just is not the way people talk.
Right.
So I think you were on the right track when you just came in and treated us just like, normal people, which we are, as you've obviously discovered over the years.
Yes.
And that sort of thing. And we certainly promote that here on this podcast and in everything that we do here at Outlook. So nothing wrong with what you did at all, even on that day when that fateful day when you thought it was all going bad. It was all actually fine.
Well, even when our team comes in, we listen to each other when we do our education meetings, and we're always trying to say, okay, I'm not going to say something like that. I'm going to see how far I can go without saying something that I shouldn't. And sure enough, one of us inevitably makes a mistake, and then we kind of giggle about it at the end. But you are right. These are human beings that have a sense of humor, and they know, well, I've been in this building before, and someone that is blind would say to me, hey, Wade, nice to see you. And that's just our vernacular, right? That's just what we say. And it's just good to know that you can have this kind of relationship. Everyone has a great sense of humor. They can make fun of me, and I can take it. And I can say things that maybe aren't always perfect, and they can take it, and it's all good. It's
Absolutely.
all good.
That's what it's all about. And that's the way people talk. And that's just the way it works, as we say around here.
It's the way it works. That's right. That's right. And what an amazing facility, right? We were talking about that today when walking in here, how it's changed over the years and just how impressive it is, the kind of organization that you now have. It's just amazing to see over the years.
It is. And that leads me to my next question. Why do you believe it's important for businesses and organizations to support, places, nonprofits like Outlook Enrichment and any others that might be out there, but especially Outlook Enrichment, as long as you've been at that?
Yeah, well, I think it does go back to what I said earlier, just how humbling it is, how energizing it is to see an organization like Outlook Nebraska where, people aren't letting things get to them. They're doing their job. They're in a good mood. I'm sure everyone that's listening knows there's a lot of great organizations in Omaha. Omaha is very unique, right? Mm-hmm. We have so many awesome organizations. Well, this is one of them, and we try and invite all new people every year to the Gala. And when we do that, everyone that has an opportunity to meet Outlook Nebraska, they're just so impressed. And so you guys have made it easy for us to put you on our list for someone that we're supporting and someone that we want to really promote. But yeah, there's a lot of options for that in Omaha. But to me, this is it's easily one that my wife and I have chosen, and that we're very grateful that you allow us to come to these events and that you're hosting. So I don't know if that answered your question, but hopefully that got part of it.
Well, maybe this follow-up question will make sure that you answer. I think you did pretty well regardless, but how is supporting Outlook impacted you personally and professionally? And I think when you answer that one, we will have covered it completely.
Yeah, well, I'll come up with an example. You guys offer a tool or a service where you can talk with companies to make sure that their websites are up to speed. Right?
Yes. Are they accessible?
Mm-hmm. Because visually impaired folks, as you know, have technology to, I'll say it again, read a website faster than I can read it,
sure,
right? With the technology that you have. And so it's very important for businesses, first of all, to be aware, does our website hinder us with visually impaired people, right? Or is it updated enough to where we're going to be able to offer the same services that we're trying to offer to everyone, including visually impaired? So, I think businesses have to be aware of their impact to everybody.
Sure.
It's things like that stick out and stand out. We want to at least be able to promote that in any way that we can to the folks that are unaware of even what Outlook Nebraska is and does. And so the more events you guys have, the more visible you guys are out to public, the better it is.
Sure.
And I just think you've done a great job of that. And this podcast is another example of that. So
if another company was considering supporting Outlook and you were chatting with them, what would you possibly tell them?
Well, I would just tell them, you mean if they're supporting it, if they don't know about Outlook, you mean?
Right, or they're considering supporting it and they run it by you or something like that.
Oh, yeah, it's a no-brainer for me, I would encourage them if they want to take that a step further, have their leadership team come and do a tour. Mm-hmm. Come meet the people. It would be 5 steps into the tour that they would be like, wow, this is pretty great. And I think it's inspiring for their management team that even if they're not visually impaired, to just see the energy levels that are here, right? And compare that to their own company. And I think they'll probably find there can be improvements and they can learn something from Outlook Nebraska just by taking that tour. And it's like going to places like the food bank, it's like going to these other really important organizations that until you talk or meet this type of organization, you really don't fully grasp it until you do that. But once you do, it's a pretty much a no-brainer at that point.
Sure. Well, we appreciate that. And that's why we're here. And we always encourage businesses to come by and tour. And we're happy to do that. So there's another invitation right there.
That's right.
From Wade himself.
That's right.
So, Wade, let's turn to something you certainly know plenty about and have some real expertise in, and that would be retirement. Why is having a retirement plan so important, even for those early in their careers? So, for people who are just starting out, why do you want to hurry and get into a retirement program?
Yeah, that's a really important question, and I wish we'd ask that to everybody more often. Think of the alternative, right? And I've said this. Maybe someone has a goal of working their entire life, right? Mm-hmm. But most don't. Most say, "Look, I love to work, but there's going to come a day where I'm going to want to maybe slow it down and enjoy retirement and just reflect on life and enjoy life." The thing I usually remind everyone to do, because all of us know someone who is retired, right? Mm-hmm. We all do.
Sure.
Well, find a retiree or two and ask them this question. If you could do it all over again, and just leave it this vague. Just say, if you could do it all over again, what would you do? Almost all of them say these two things. They all wish they would have saved a little more, right? Mm. And they wish they would have been a little more healthy. It seems like those are the two things that almost every retiree says. And so if we take that to heart, if we listen to that, now the healthy part for me has been a little tougher, right? I just there are things in my life it's just hard for me to switch because, for the health. But the saving part is pretty easy if you think about it, and especially if you're young. So if we can get to young people and explain to them, the earlier you start saving, the sooner you'll be able to retire. The later you start saving, the later probably you'll be able to retire. And it's just math, and we can learn from retirees. Let's listen to them. Sure. And so when you show someone in their 20s and 30s that they have 40 years until they retire, and there's less pressure on retiring if you start earlier, right? Because money loves time, and time loves money. Mm-hmm. And so if you can start saving earlier, that money has more time for it to pile up or double, sure, right? Or earn interest. And so that's part of our message, quite frankly, is not only do we strive to help people of all ages retire, we really also want to remind those young folks to save early, because someone who starts at age 40 there's a little bit more of a hurdle there, right, to do it than someone that starts in their 20s.
Yeah. I would say that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions about, retirement planning. Wouldn't you say? It
is. You wish they would teach this in school, and I'm talking even grade school. Sure. You wish they would start talking about that. They don't. Those are classes that you can sign up for. But even myself, I didn't really have anyone in my 20s and 30s telling me, hey, you should be saving 10% of your pay.
Yeah.
At that age, I think we're all thinking of different things, like maybe I should buy a house or buy a car. And you should, you should be doing those things that normally come up, or having a family, starting a family. Those things cost money.
Sure, absolutely.
But we really want people to be selfish about not only their money today, but be selfish about what it will look like for you in retirement.
Yeah.
And if you can think about yourself in retirement and then think about those things today that you can do that will help yourself in retirement, it's a pretty easy concept then at that point. And then we can hold their hand along the way.
So there's a million retirement plan options out there. So maybe if you would, Wade, can you break down some of the different types of retirement plans? You've got that are available, like 401k, for example, which everybody's heard of, and Roth IRAs. And what are some of the differences in those? And who, what do you recommend?
Very good question. So If you want to do something individually, you've already mentioned it, there are products that are called IRAs, individual retirement accounts, IRAs. Those come in the form of traditional or pre-tax or Roth IRAs. So I would always encourage everyone to start a Roth IRA or an individual IRA, a traditional IRA. If you are lucky enough to work for a company that offers a 401k or a retirement plan, it could be a 403b. 401k is pretty much the most common used product in companies. So if you work for a company in a 401k, that's even could be more powerful. Like here at Outlook, this company offers a match. So think of that. If you work for a company and they offer a 401k plan, they might also offer a match where you can immediately double your money.
Sure.
So if you put in 5% of your own money, that's tough to do, but you decide to do it, and now it's matched. Now you have another 5% coming in from the company, and your 5 automatically turns into 10%. Those are things that you don't want to walk by, right? Those are real easy, free money that you should take that company up on that, right? And that's a good start.
Sure.
So I would say whatever the company offers, take that free money and then save as much as you can, because the companies through a 401k plan have made it very easy to save. What do I mean by that? You don't have to write a check, or you don't have to go set up an account somewhere. It's already done for you, and through your payroll deferrals, you can start saving paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. And they've made it very easy for you to really achieve that retirement goal if you just do it.
So I suppose that's why or how an employer-sponsored retirement plan, such as a 401k, or benefit both the employees as well as employers. Would you agree with that?
I agree. I think I gave the stats earlier. I don't know, I say this so much that I hope I said it, that half of the companies in the United States do not offer a retirement plan. So part of our growth for our company are helping companies that don't have a retirement plan set up, teaching them how to set that up. The government, believe it or not, offers a whole bunch of tax credits now to help those companies that don't offer a retirement plan. Basically, the government pays for those companies to set up that plan for the first time.
Wow.
So there's really no barrier there for that company to say, you know what, we just can't afford it. Well, that's not true. The government will pay for that plan and help subsidize the cost of setting up a plan. I think companies have started to learn too, companies that offer benefits can attract and retain better employees, right? Because employees are looking for benefits.
Yeah.
And so if you are that company that says, you know what, man, we just can't, we're not having a lot of luck hiring and keeping people. Well, if they offer good benefits, and part of that benefit plan is a 401k plan, if they do offer a 401k plan, if they're able to offer a match, yes, it costs that company money, but compare that to the costs that you have of having to always rehire and retrain new people, right? That's costly to hire someone, then they leave, and then you have to go hire another person to replace them.
Sure.
It's much more efficient to hire that good person, give them good benefits to keep them there so they don't lose them, which then means they have a better, longer-term employee that's being attracted and retained at their company.
Sure, makes total sense. And they have more familiarity with the company and its practices and
You got it.
so forth. Yeah,
You got it. Yeah, so it's this kind of chicken and the egg, right? Who's going to be the first one to offer it? And I think it doesn't take long. Companies that don't have a plan are probably losing employees to companies that do have a retirement plan. And so we just want to get the word out there that if a company doesn't have a retirement plan, we'd love to help them set one up.
So what advice would you give to someone who hasn't started saving for retirement yet at all? Just even an individual?
Yeah, great question. I would tell them first and foremost, don't beat yourself up about it. It's okay. You can't go back in time and start. But let's not let another day go by that we don't make this adjustment, right?
Yeah.
Let's start today. And I even tell folks, look, the average American saves 6% of their pay. Now, all of the studies say you should be saving 10 to 15% of your pay. So, the average American should feel good about themselves for saving at 6%, but they're behind a little bit, right?
Right.
Well,
Absolutely.
don't beat yourself up. Just keep doing the 6, but then next year, do something that's very easy to do. Increase that deferral from 6 to 7. Do what's called an auto escalate every year. Just escalate 1% every year and set a goal to get between 10 and 15%. So if you're at 6, set the first goal that in 4 years with 1% increase every year, you'll be at 10 in 4 years.
Yeah.
And then keep that going if you can. What the studies show is if you kind of walk into the pool rather than dive into the pool, you're going to have much more success. So don't beat yourself up. Maybe you're at 3 and you're not at 6 yet. Well, 3 is okay. Next year, go to 4. Next year, go to 5. And then that story really resonates for those that are in the room that say, Wade, I know I need to be saving. I do, but I just can't afford it right now. I always say this, could you afford 1%? And the answer is, well, I don't know. How much is 1%?
Yeah.
And then we do the math, and you know what they find out right away? They can afford 1%. And so I say, okay, if you're at 0, let's just start at 1. And then the same rules apply. Increase that by 1% for the next 10 years, and in 10 years, you'll be at 10%.
I'm laughing because I was a part of one of your sessions where you went through that with us.
And we can't really, no one should feel shame for not saving enough, right?
Right.
We all have enough things that we can feel shameful of. I'm not about that. I'm about empowering people to make a decision that could change their life. And this is a big decision to start, but 1% is not a huge decision, right? Anyone can do that. And let's start there. And wow, what is so rewarding, maybe 5 years ago, we had that first conversation with someone.
Yeah.
And they took us up on it. And now they're at 5%. And they say to us, wow, I can't believe how much money I have or how fast this has grown just doing 5%. And so that's really the message people should listen to. Don't compare yourself to others. Just yourself, start where you can, and then commit to yourself. Be selfish and commit to that. And of course, if you have a company match, wow, if you can start, if the match is at 3%, man, do whatever you can to start at 3.
Sure.
If the company match is 5, do whatever you can to start at 5. But if you can't, have a plan to get to there so you can take them up on their free money.
Wow. Yeah. Very good advice for sure. What trends are you seeing in the retirement planning industry that people maybe should be more aware of?
Great question. So as you could tell from my comments earlier, the government is really concerned about the average American and how much they're saving, right? And I don't know if all of us know this, but Social Security is a good thing, but it's not always enough to retire on. I think the studies now show if you're getting Social Security, it's probably only going to cover about 40% of your bills.
Yeah.
So that means you've got to have another account somewhere that helps you with the Social Security that you're getting. And so I would just tell them, so the trend is the government is so concerned about this that starting in 2025, this year, the government is forcing employers to auto-enroll their participants. What they're saying is when this employee that you hire starts with you, you by law have to start them in the 401k plan. And you'll start them at 3%, let's say. And then you'll auto increase them 1% until they get to 10. That is now the new government rule. So it's not even a trend anymore, it's a rule. So anyone that the government says you're hiring, you have to now auto enroll them into a retirement plan. So the trend is the government believes so much in these plans that they're forcing the employer's hands and forcing those employers to automatically put employees into the plan.
Wow.
Called auto enrollment and auto escalate. Kind of the things I talked about already, but
Yes.
they're now forcing them. There are trends. There are 12 states. So Minnesota was the 12th. There are now 12 states that force or require companies to force that company to set up a retirement plan. So if you have 5 employees or more, the government is forcing those companies to start up a retirement plan.
Wow.
So this is not something that only I'm passionate about. The government is standing behind me and saying we also are passionate about it, and we're going to force these companies to set up retirement plans. You remember earlier when I said the government is now paying for these companies to set up these plans?
Yeah.
That's why they're doing it. They're saying, look, if we're going to force it, we're also going to subsidize it and help it.
Wow.
So what a perfect time now, if you're a new company, to set up a plan because the government's going to help you pay for it.
Sure. Yeah, this would be a great time indeed. I'm always in favor of them anyway, just because
That's right.
I've learned from you over the years. So,
Well, and I'm not a big fan of the government forcing things on people, but this seems to be a logical one.
Yeah.
You know, they really want the working American to have a place to set money aside for retirement.
sure, that makes sense. Well, I just wonder if there's anything else that you feel we should cover today. And as we kind of wrap things up here, it's so great to have both of you here. And if I left anything out that you feel that we should still cover, please feel free to do that at this point if you'd like.
Yeah, I would encourage any company that hasn't visited or doesn't know anything about Outlook Nebraska or Outlook Enrichment to step forward, right, and to take a tour, to call me, talk to me about it, or come to the facility, take a tour, learn about it. I really believe there's some empowerment there. There's something magical will happen, right? They'll find out what I found out many years ago, that it's a great organization. They should support it. And then I would say interact with a lot of the employees here. I can probably guarantee you they're going to laugh. You know, there's a lot of funny people here. I would encourage them to come talk to Ross. Ross is a guy that I could talk to for hours. He really has supported this organization and works here. He'd be a great human being to talk to, as well as, a lot of them. Marissa, Mark, everybody. There's been a lot of tenured people here that have seen this place grow. There's a lot of folks like yourself that have worked here that have done what we've asked them to do, and their balances are a lot higher today than they were, and so it's changed their life, and that's just very rewarding to me and Christine personally.
Sure. Well, we appreciate you as well. And now, just to expand your horizons, we have 2 Rosses here. I know which one you're referring to, though, Ross Menard.
Yes.
But yeah, that's the gentleman you're thinking of, and of course, yes, he has
Never a dull moment with Ross.
No, he's been here a long time. So.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Well, again, it's just been an absolute pleasure. We could probably go on and on for hours. Retirement is one of those things I don't think you can get started any too soon in planning it and working with you. And I can't think of nicer people to work with than either of you. And it was so nice to have you here today to give us a little insight into the whole retirement industry. And I just hope I didn't leave anything out.
You haven't. You've been great. Your questions are perfect. Thank you for including us. It really means a lot. We're very honored. And I'll leave you with this.
Sure.
We have yet to still meet a retiree that has too much money. We're still searching for them.
I haven't met that one either.
We haven't met them.
No.
And so, if you do this right, not only will you have enough money, for retirement, but if you do it right, you might have enough money while in retirement to still help great organizations like Outlook Nebraska and others in the community, because you've done a good enough job of saving. You can really give that back to the community through philanthropy and so on and so forth.
Well, we certainly appreciate all the support you've given us over the years and can't say enough about it. So, and we're glad you come to the galas and some of these events and build up a list of things that you can look back on and say, I remember when that happened and this happened. That's great. We love that.
Well, you did such a great job. You've done such a great job here. Joe Rogan, look out. You know, you've done a great job.
Well, thank you both once again. We really appreciated interviewing and chatting with you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, what a great interview, and I couldn't help but notice the sincerity that both Wade and Christine had as they made their presentation. If you wish to contact Feltz Wealth Management for any reason, including retirement, of course, you can do so by calling them at area code 402-691-0200 or 691-0200. And their offices are located on the second floor at 101 South 108th Avenue, second floor in Omaha. You can also visit them on the web at feltzwealthplan.com, and Feltz is spelled F-E-L-T-Z, so F-E-L-T-Z wealthplan.com, written all together, and that will get you to their website as well. Well, folks, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for this edition of Outlook on Air, but we certainly hope you've enjoyed the program. And we hope to see you back here again for another edition of Outlook on Air. And if you'd like more information about Outlook Enrichment, or anything Outlook for that matter, make sure you visit our website at www.outlooken.org. That's www.outlooken.org. Or you can always call us for more information or to schedule any kind of an appointment at area code 531-365-5051. That's area code 531-365-5051. And don't forget to subscribe to our monthly newsletter so that you can find out when the next podcast is available. And we hope to see you then on the next edition of Outlook on Air.